We good? Okay, I'll call the meeting to order for the WPCA May 7th meeting. If I could have a roll call, please. Excuse me, Chris.
Tom Schulte. Here. Todd Lavieri.
Here.
Michael Chen. Chris LeBreeze here. Victor Alvarez.
Here.
Maria Weingarten.
Here.
Robert Hamill. Here. Colin Dobbin.
Here.
James Yao.
Absent tonight.
Nicholas Matrakis.
Here.
Jan Schaefer.
Can't make it tonight.
Okay. Oh,
Do we have to seat anybody?
Deanna calls. Did I not call you?
okay.
That's okay.
Ex officio. No, I don't think we have.
Okay, we're good. All right. I do need a motion to approve the minutes from the last meeting that we had on
Oh, yeah, we
February
do, because
13th.
Michael, we need to replace Michael.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Motion to move the minutes or
Before you do that, we have to replace
We have to
replace
seat
Michael.
somebody
So,
from Michael Chen.
Oh.
And the only alternate that's here is Nick.
yeah, motion, yeah, go. Okay. I need a motion to move Nick to be, yep, motion. Bob, second.
Second.
Tom, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay.
Opposed, none? Okay, Nick. Okay, motion to approve the minutes. Thanks. Victor?
So moved.
Thank you. Second.
I'll second.
All right, Tom, all in favor?
Aye.
February 13th. Opposed, none? Okay, so moved. So Tiger, this is just a review and discussion and we'll move, I think we'll make we vote on the change actually in June, right, Tucker?
Yes.
Yes. But this is to get us up to speed with what you're recommending.
Correct. It's just basically an update as to where we are. Kudos to Bob and Ann and Josh for helping put this data all together. So in essence, what we're looking at is almost a status quo as far as the number of categories for residential and the number of categories for our commercial. In the past, we've looked to consolidate at times, but right now we're looking to keep the 3 categories for the residential and the 6 categories for the commercial. And we're looking at a 5% increase across the board for every single category, if you will. One of the reasons for that is that, everything's costing a little bit more this year overall. And in total, at a 5%, we feel it's equitable. All the way across the board, increased by 5%, and that will bring us very, very close to our budget. And any delta or difference would be absorbed by the fund itself. The fund would be able to handle any delta between the fee that we're proposing and the fees that we need or the revenue that we need to run the sewer fund itself.
What has the increase been over the last 4 or 5 years?
So what we'll do is we'll give you a table for next time, but for this,
Okay.
we're looking at, so in fiscal 20, if you remember, that was the first year that we started this. So if you look at the residential quartile, just say the first residential quartile, we started at $235 and now we're looking at $305, which is a $70 increase overall over the past 5 years. It's an average of about $14 a year or 30% over the 5 years. So it's about 6% a year, all in averaged across.
Whoa, that doesn't make sense.
Well,
Say that
I
again.
can do that again, but I just took the 30 divided by 5, but in essence, it's
You said it was
$70 over,
$200.
it was $235 and now it's $305. 1, 2,
So
3,
$75.
5, 6 years later. Yeah.
Oh, 6 years,
$70
okay.
later.
Okay.
Yeah. 6 years later, if you will, 5 years later. And in essence, that's very similar to where we are. So the quartile for residential 2 is a change of $75 from its inception to now. And for quartile 3 is $95 change from inception to now. The only larger numbers that we have is when we get into the commercial side, especially since we're applying a percentage to a larger number, it obviously turns out to be a larger number. So in our super users, we started off in fiscal 21 with a $10,000 fee, And at present, we're looking at an $11,235 fee. So it's up
So it's 10% over 5 years.
5 years. Yeah.
So a couple percent a year. Okay. Okay.
Correct. And that's one of our largest increases, if you will. The commercial
Well,
five
dollar
start.
wise, but not percent wise. It's
The
lowest.
percent wise, it's dollar wise, it is percent wise, it's pretty much middle of the road, if
Okay.
you will. Our smallest increase seems to be around 10%, and our largest increase is 21%, and that's in commercial category 5, where we started at 5,000 and now we're at $5,735.
Okay, so Josh, you'll put that table together, or you'll put that together?
We'll put that table together.
Dollars
for you.
and percentages.
Dollars and
Dollars interesting,
percentages.
but the percentages also matter.
That's
for us
right.
Too.
We
Okay.
can do that for you. So the only thing that we've seen in analyzing this over these several years, we've been trying to get down to something that we would consider to be equitable across the board, specifically on the residential side, if you will. So an idea surfaced whereby if we look at the capacity of the plant itself, and we've had discussions on the capacity of the plant, we look on a bedroom count for that. So we calculate that based upon a bedroom count. We determine exactly how much capacity we have in the plant versus how much we're running. And then that delta gives us exactly how many bedrooms theoretically you could add to the system itself. So we're feeling that if we were to charge the fee on the residential side on a bedroom count basis, that would be much more equitable versus saying, larger home utilizes more use of things like that. Just go by a bedroom. If you have 3 bedrooms, it's X amount. 5 bedrooms, it's Y amount. But it's basically the per bedroom fee times the number of bedrooms gives you so whether or not if you have a 1 bedroom, small condo, or a 5 bedroom large house, you can theoretically fill that entire house with people, and that would be a larger usage. Can't necessarily go on bathroom count because you could theoretically have 7 people using 1 bathroom or 1 person using 7 bathrooms, right? So we think a bedroom count would be equitable across the board. And the thought is that we'd like to start to use the word socialize, been using that word a lot, but socialize that idea as far as over the next year, and then come back to the board itself, to the WPCA, with the thought of making ourselves equitable across the board on a bathroom count. So we calculate our capacity on it, we calculate it here, and then we would know every single time we add a bedroom, how much that would be for revenue and how much that would be for usage, if you will. So we'd know exactly where we're trending.
And it streamlines the process.
And it streamlines
This
the process.
is not streamlined.
Right.
So
Right.
This is not a streamlined process. We need a streamlined process.
Right. This process is a little bit difficult because we have multiple categories and multiple ways to calculate it based upon your assessed value of your home and things of that nature. So when assessed values change on the home, then the calculation changes for us, and then the fee changes as well. So it's a little bit onerous overall. So
What if you get somebody who says, I don't have 5 bedrooms, I have 2 bedrooms, 2 libraries and a study?
The field card.
the field card will tell us, right?
Okay.
So
Field card.
there's a field card, right? And then if there's, it's a great change. So,
Asking for a friend.
right. So and the overall thought is that actually drives with a building permit, right? So building permit comes forward, and then that goes through the process and winds up at the assessor's office. And the assessor actually has to change the field card based upon the changes that are, and that's part of the whole process of a building permit. So there's an automatic check on what's happening in the town itself. So at any given time, we'll know exactly how many bedrooms we have. And then that tells us our capacity and tells us what our fees would be for the next year. So we would be able to then almost get ahead of it and come to you and say, listen, our budget is this, and we feel that this is going to be the fee. And at the time that we present our budget, we can present the fee as well. So we're not chasing one after the other. And we can do that in February when you look at our budget, and you'll understand what the fee associated with it would be, because it'd be a straight line calculation, if you will. So that's really where we're at present. You know, right now we're looking at a status quo as far as the way we're set up. Everyone seems to accept it at present. So we just look at a 5% increase across the board is what we're proposing, and then go forward with a different view for next fiscal year.
How do I read this table? Maybe I'm a little confused by it. So fiscal year 24 is the year where it says proposed.
Right, that should actually say actual.
Okay,
Yeah.
and that helps. What is the actual? There was no increase this year? It says NA, percent year-over-year increase was, Because there's no column before.
Yeah.
Right, there's no,
Okay.
right, there's no column prior, so, yeah,
Let me know what that is.
right, we
All
will.
right, that's two questions.
Right.
Operating expenditures, I get. Capital projects, is that literally the amount we're expecting to spend this year that ends in June in capital? On capital, not,
We would, that's what you've given us, but we won't be expending all of that.
right,
you know,
and it would
because
be
we've got-
bonded over time?
Yes,
So that's
some of that will
capital approval, but not a real, that's not the expense.
be. No,
Okay, I'm gonna give you this back. You got it. We got balances and summaries, but I'm not sure this makes.
You're looking at the fund, this one? Fund balance?
Yeah.
It goes out to
The-
30.
So the 2.2 million has been committed from prior years. We got to reflect that it hasn't been spent, but it's been committed. So there's $1,000,001 in there for the UV replacement. There's the 500,000 for the.
But for next year,
No, but,
it's just, we're not gonna
No,
spend it in
they
the next 30
committed-
days.
The UV was committed in a prior year.
prior year.
Right.
So we have to show this as coming out of the fund balance, unless I'm not.
I'm trying to understand, is this a P and L or what is this? This is not a P and L. It's trying to summarize operating expenses, fee revenue, sewer fee, and a balance and a fund balance. I'm not
So-
sure it's doing its job, that's
So what
all.
we're trying to do is show the ending fund balance of what it's going to happen based on the budget for the next couple of years.
But are we gonna spend $2.2 million by the end of June?
That, no, it's been committed.
Committed.
In trying to calculate the fund balance, we
Yeah.
have to show what's been committed because that can't be.
I'm okay with
Oh.
that, if that's what that is.
Yeah.
It's,
Yeah.
it's not really the balance. It's, I guess it is.
It's taken out because we can't use it.
It's the
It's,
uncommitted balance.
it's unavailable or
sorry.
it's
It's unavailable.
reserved or.
Unavailable.
It's
Something like
unavailable.
that.
Yeah.
That makes me feel better. Okay, all right, I think I got it now.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
Well, I
the,
wouldn't show it there. And what you ought to
I
do is
wouldn't show it
show
there.
the actual capital expense and then some kind of notional deduction before you do your final sewer fund calculation. Say, approved but not spent capital allocation, something like that.
yeah, I mean, the fund balance is more like $3 million, I think.
It is.
We-
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
at that
It
point,
is.
correct.
Both funds over
And
2
just
million.
maybe just try to make maybe we can't do it with this, but I'll try it. Operating expenditures, 1.6 million, that's actual, expected the budget this year, I'm assuming, right?
Mhm.
I get, there's some capital expense, I don't know what that is. There is fee revenue of 300,000 plus $1,000,007, right?
Yep.
The
Right.
Non-sewer fee plus. That's revenues of 2,069,000. Our expenditures are 1.6. So technically if that's true, we're adding to the fund balance.
We will. be.
Okay, all right, that's
We
why
have a
you lost me.
contingency in there so that,
I'm okay.
Yep.
I just want to make sure.
Regular
I
contingency.
follow it
And
right.
is the 1.6 fiscal year proposed operating expenditures actuals?
it's
through-
actual with a little bit of an estimate in there through the end of the year.
Okay, it is projecting. end
6
of the
weeks
year,
out,
okay.
yeah.
Okay, so it's actual plus 2 months of projection. Okay, that's better. Got it. Okay.
Do we fund the I and I report from this balance? So that's in the 2.2.
Yes,
Yes.
500,000 of it is.
Right.
And what is the non-sewer fee revenue? Is that interest on the balance on the bond? What is that?
Septic.
The septic
Septic,
fee,
sorry.
And interest.
right.
So should
Okay.
say septic.
Okay, so we will net have an increase to the fund balance, which is great. And now you're trying to match expenditures and revenues with this increase, right? So the question will be, what will be the capital expense? Not just the committed projects to make this work. I thought you said you were trying to match the operating expenditures or we're talking about a 5% increase. It's a big number.
That's
So I'm
correct.
just trying to understand it. 1.9
Mhm.
million of expenditures, some amount of capital that you're going to spend, really spend, the
Mhm.
1/20th of whatever the 20-year money is, whatever the case may be. Not the relieving of the fund. That doesn't count for expense. That's a transfer. If we're going to spend $1 million on UV and we're going to transfer it next year, it's not an expense. It's not part of our operating expense.
It's in the capital fund.
I
We've
got
ta- oh, yeah.
that. But it's not part of I'm trying to understand to tie it back to the 5%. How do we get to 5%? How do we get to a 5% increase?
But
Do
don't
we
you
want to
think
break even? Do we want to have a little surplus? So follow me. It says 1.9 million in 2025. We agree that's the expenditures?
Yes,
And you're telling me that our revenue is going to be 2,077,000. Right? That's our revenue. So far, we got about call it $300,000 surplus. our revenues are above our expenditures, right? No, 270, apologize. We're $700,000 short. No, look at
Right.
that. No. That's the problem with this capital thing.
Hundred
It's
Okay,
thousand.
well,
1.9
change the
million of
form around.
expenditures and 2 million of revenues. That's a, call it
$100,000.
$200,000, $150,000 of surplus
Mhm.
at 5%. So that's okay. I mean, that's not much of a surplus. We don't want to run a big surplus but we want to cover our expenditures. Plus, you have to cover the real capital expense, not, I don't know what is the capital cost next year? We need to know that.
825,000 we put against it. Capital costs that we said for
We know
projects.
That's what that is.
That's what,
We approved it,
We've approved 825.
but are we spending $800,000 next year? That doesn't come out of the fund, that's coming out of expenses, not out of the fund.
500 is I and I, right?
500 is
Is
I&I.
is the I
Yeah.
and I. So
Okay.
that's
500.
500.
That's fair.
and then the rest of it is, our smaller purchases for pumps and things like that and other expenditures.
So that's
that we have.
truly our capital expense.
Yes.
Yes. And then we're gonna have principal
That's
and
not,
interest on,
that's what I'm talking about.
yeah, we're gonna have principal and interest on a bond offering as
No,
well. if we do
well, we're
this
probably not gonna have that
26,
until fiscal year 27.
this year.
The principal and interest will come in probably.
See,
So
debt
that's the-
service is its own
so
line,
that's the
debt
repayment
service is its
of
own
the
line
UV.
item out
The
here
UV that we
somewhere.
just
That's why I
approved,
keep,
The 4 million,
That starts in 27?
we're
Yeah.
just,
because I'm not gonna bond that in March of 26, I'm gonna bond it March of
Got it.
March 26.
6, not much, 25.
No, sorry, March of 25, so it'll go into March 26, which is 27's financials.
so are the capital projects tax-funded capital?
Right now.
That's what
sewer
you're
fee,
assuming here.
Yes, yes.
That's not, there's no debt for that. There's no debt service
There's no
here.
debt for service for anything until the 4 million of the UV that just got approved for bonding.
Yeah. Oh, okay, but we're still saying tax-funded capital, 800,000 next year.
If,
Okay.
last year we presented, or Tiger presented, I think it was last year, the I&I study is $2 million, and it was gonna be in tranches of
Okay.
500,000.
Increase.
And we were hoping to use the fund balance to do that, because at the time, the fund balance is, well over 2 million to 3. So the thought process was, at the time, was say, let's try and get the fund balance down to about a $1.5 million, keep it at that $1.5 million, and then base the projects that we needed if we had surplus over that 1.5. So that's where we're trying to get to that level of saying the I&I study should be able to be covered in here, and the 4 million will go into the bond
Yeah,
with the
okay.
debt service coming out.
All right.
And what are the bond fund uses? So is this going towards the UV project? This
A
million seven?
million of it, I think, is.
There's $1.1 million in this using the fee operated, the fund balance in here towards the UV, and 4 million in bonded.
Okay,
Where's
so
the
what-
600? Where's the difference between the 177? 1.1 of it is the.
The 1.1 is that, and then there's other projects. that
There's
are-
other projects, there's 500,000 for.
It's all tax funded, none of it's bonded. That's a
None of it's
lot of,
bonded.
that's a,
But
okay.
why wouldn't
We-
that go then against the tax funded?
Which one?
It's not debt service. There's no, it's not debt, it's it's tax
No,
based.
this is tax funded, I understand that. But if there's 1.1 is the UV, where's the other what's the other 600?
He's saying that's projects, capital projects.
Capital
Okay.
projects.
Study.
Some of that's the I&I and some of it's others.
Others.
The
That's
tail end.
500.
Yep.
You have in both, 500 in both years.
Yeah, you can,
Well,
because it's 3, it's multiple years of.
It's a
500.
4-year, it's a
Yes.
4-year
Oh, yes,
project.
yes,
Right.
Yes. Okay.
But it's already in the capital projects.
The 1 million is in the capital projects under the 2.2.
Yeah.
Plus 500,000. So
Yeah.
that's in there. In 25, there's another 500,000 because we've got 4 tranches to go to. So we're into year 2 in 25 of that 500,000. So that's in that 825. It's a second tranche of it.
Okay. So the use of the fund balance, how does that come to play?
That's using the fund balance. So without getting into too much, we've the operating account and we've the capital account.
Yeah.
The capital account is where we're drawing that fund balance as we have the reserve. So that's where the projects are sitting right now, pulling that down.
Okay, so the capital, the tax funded capital projects are net of the use of the fund balance, or?
We're using the fund balance.
We're using the fund balance.
Yeah, okay. That's where it gets confusing.
But
not-
you're
right?
also taxing for it.
We're taxing the operating to cover the operating costs. And then we're using the fund balance to cover the capital projects.
So just again, using the current year, which is actual, not proposed, 24, 1.6 million in operating. 2 million of revenues. So far, so good? So
Mhm,
that's about a $400,000, 390,000 surplus.
mhm.
You with me?
Yep.
Yeah.
You're using 2.2 million of the fund for these capital projects.
Correct.
Okay, so we have a $400,000 surplus this year from an operating point of view.
We could have, yes.
We will have.
Yep.
And we aren't really using that $1 million this year, so that's still rolling over. Just one more,
We haven't, yeah, we.
you
No.
committed it, but it hasn't been
Committed it,
spent.
but we will not be-
Yes,
no.
it hasn't been
I
spent.
don't- Okay.
About
Then we go to the
500.
next year, we have, again, 1.9 of expenditures. Again, if I understand this, we're using 825 from the fund for these capital projects. And you have 2 million of revenues. So again, we have a surplus, but we need that 5% to have a surplus because your expenditures are going up $300,000. Your expenditures are going up from 1.6 to 1.9, if I'm reading that right. That's the
Mhm.
that's really driving this increase.
Correct.
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
And then they're using the balance again. And they don't really, we don't really use it much for the rest of time.
Right, well, we're trying to
More or
hover around the
less.
We're trying to
1.5.
keep to
Exactly.
the 1.5.
I think that's
and then
great.
see,
I got you
And
now.
then surpluses will,
And then you start to have the debt service for the rest of the
Yeah.
fund,
Right.
for
That's it.
the project. Okay. I'm just trying to understand to justify
fine.
5%. I think we
Yep.
got it. 1.6 goes to 1.9. That's real. Those are the
Mhm.
expenditures. It's got nothing to do with UV. It's got nothing to do with the other capital projects. Those are your operating expense increase and has to be funded.
Yep.
Got it. Okay.
I think it would be helpful when we sit to consider and discuss moving to the more administratively easy bedroom-based analysis or fee structure, that if we could maybe have a little bit of comparison about what other towns might do.
We can do
In other
that.
words,
Yeah.
Is this the simplest of all of them, or is this solving for what we think is the biggest problem, but there are other possible ways to do it, just in order to have that discussion and make sure that we've settled on it right
Yeah.
away. Because I agree with you, this seems to be just exploding in terms of its complication, which you don't
Right.
want.
It's an inordinate amount of work to get to this point every year. So we want to try to simplify it
Right.
and then make it easier for a homeowner, right? They buy a 3-bedroom home, they know exactly what the fee would be. You know, it's not going to fluctuate for them either. And that's one of the problems we're having right now.
You have kind of an arbitrary breakpoint, like
Yeah.
who came up with 750,000? And if your home is 740 versus 760, you're in a
Right.
whole new bucket.
Yeah.
And
Correct.
that inflation's gonna move that. I mean, I don't,
Yeah.
if we stuck with the old methodology, we'd have to totally rethink the buckets and.
I agree with
I
that.
That's
mean, It makes more sense if you're trying to tax for use.
Correct. It's exactly one of the problems we're having right now is because of the reval, we're having that problem where now we're having to possibly rebalance the buckets, if you will, to then try to make it work. So that you're correct on that. And that is so I won't call it arbitrary, but it's an arbitrary decision, whereas
Pick a breakpoint.
Any framework is going to have some measure of
Particularly when it just
imprecision.
happens
So
in
I mean,
parameters.
we're not trying, but it seems like bedrooms would be the right way, but I just love
Right.
to hear if there was something else that.
right. And the thought being is that we would like to kind of visit quarterly as we develop through this process. So come to you in 3 months, say, this is where we are, this is what we're thinking, this is the methodology, these are the, this is what our sister towns are doing or what have you. And then kind of work
Get
our
ready
way
for
through so that when we get to February of next year, when we're right at the time when the budget's being approved, we can then be approving the fee and everyone's pretty much on the same page at
Okay.
that point in time. So that's the overall thought.
I would agree as well that 450,000 at the lowest threshold, I mean, you only have 44 units in there at that level.
Right.
and Given where we are with inflation and housing.
In
prices.
valuations, that's
Yeah.
exactly right.
I don't think an assessed value is a really great way to look
Yeah.
at a sewer fund anyway.
Mhm.
I mean, it just
Yep.
isn't. So
Thanks for changing it. We're working on changing it. We'll have it for next year.
next year.
Yeah, we felt that it was a little bit too abrupt for this year, given the time frame that we have, but we feel that it's going to be more equitable. And
Okay.
like I said, we'll visit back, say in 3 months from now, and then 6 months hence, and then another 3 months, and that will put us pretty much right on February, where we'd like to be at the point where we decide on the new fee structure. Excuse me.
Okay, any other questions? Mr. Tiger on this? Otherwise, we can have a motion to adjourn our WPCA. Maria, second. Nick, all in favor? Aye, opposed, none? Okay, thanks, Colin.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Tiger. You'll be back. All right, let's move on to our Board of Finance meeting. I just did.
They have some new Zoom.
New Zoom. And that sounds like an app or something.
And do we have enough Zoom out?
I was
This year. I was pushing.
Yeah,
Be
no,
noisy at this point, yeah.
People want to be, in the discussion.